So now we're getting into we don't have a name for that. We can't come up with a name, so I'm just gonna come up with it right now. Adventures in NorCal.
I might edit that out.
So this is where we just like to talk about sort of our adventures and what we do going up shooting these videos that we do for Active NorCal. And we recently went up to Mount Shasta, to Mount Shasta's frozen lake, Castle Lake, and we went ice fishing.
Super rad.
Yeah, so I feel like we need to talk about this because I don't think anyone in NorCal knows how to ice fish. We didn't. And I think, if people are going to go do it, let's make sure they do it right. So, Castle Lake. It's 15, 20 minutes north of Mount Shasta. Technically, if you look it up on your phone, it'll say Dunsmuir. It's in Dunsmuir. I think it's super close to Dunsmuir and like Castle Crags, but the only way to get there is driving through Mount Shasta City. And so right now it is frozen over big time. It freezes over every winter, sometimes bigger than others. But so we went out there. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how thick the ice was. We just heard that you could go ice fishing, and I had talked to some locals that sort of gave me the rundown of how you do it, and so on and so forth. So what was your initial reaction when I said, hey, we're going to go ice fishing in NorCal?
I was super excited. I've never been ice fishing before, but I have just seen movies like, Grumpy Old Men.
Grumpy Old Men.
Hey, just finishing breakfast.
Just get a shack out on the lake and cut a hole in the wall and crack a couple cold ones and hopefully catch a couple fat ones. I have never stood on a frozen lake before.
Me too, first time.
That's what my first impression. And while we were there was significant crackage sounds, which are a little off-putting.
Yeah, I've talked to someone since, and they said, yeah, that's normal on any frozen lake.
I think
but
any
we didn't
frozen
know that.
waterway, it's pretty common to hear cracks. But, when you're sitting on a frozen lake, those cracks just can be a little off-putting. I thought it was so much fun. I can't wait to do it again. I will say that I was a little shocked how frozen over the lake was, because there was a lake or a waterway that we passed on the way there that I feel like was only maybe 15 minutes away.
Lake Siskiyou.
Zero ice on it.
Yeah, so Lake Siskiyou, so Castle Lake stands still.
Right.
Lake Siskiyou flows into the Sacramento River.
And so driving past Lake Siskiyou, did you say?
Yep.
That has zero ice on it, and then being at this, that you were questioning how thick the ice actually was, because we just passed the lake that did not have any ice. So, but it wasn't until we got the GoPro down in there that we saw that it was like a foot thick, and it was clearly,
I think more than a foot and a half.
It was, we were jogging on it. You could do whatever you want on it.
Yeah. So we went up there. This is our third time up there, sort of checking it out. First time was in December. It wasn't frozen over completely yet. There's a little bit of ice, but there were sections of the water that weren't frozen over. We're not going on that. Then we went in January. The road was closed. I don't remember. It was holiday weekend, so they didn't clear out the roads, and long story short, so we couldn't even get there. So this time we went there, and we're like, okay, we're going all the way up there. Hopefully you can go walk on the lake. And we get there, and there's kids running around in the middle of the lake. And so we felt pretty good about walking on there, which, taking that first step onto the ice is a little, it's hard to do. So we get out there. We brought a ton of stuff just in case any scenario hit. So I had this giant crowbar that I brought, and a local told me, yeah, there's going to be holes out there. People bring augers out there and dig them out. So one of our worries is we wouldn't be able to find a hole. That was not a problem.
It was not a problem. There was a ton of holes, and yeah, that was one of my definite things to mention is that crowbar. and that little scooper, that little
the scooper was huge.
Those two things were absolutely key to making that fishing experience as easy as it was.
And really, you don't need much else other than rods and worms.
I mean, if we go a significant amount like every year, you can get just a manual auger for not very much. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's.
I had fun. Like I'm willing to. We already bought little mini fishing rods.
Mini rods, yeah.
And that is not going to be the last time we use those.
And we brought out our Tommy Bahama chairs because I thought it was funny that we had like tropical chairs out there. And so basically, here's what you do: you go out there, you got to dig out the hole because it's probably going to be frozen over just a tad. It wasn't that hard at all. You pick a hole, and there were actually 3 holes right next to each other that we put rods and all. We
had
3
rods. I mean, might as well.
So you put, and it wasn't as deep as I thought it would be. I thought it would be deeper.
But we didn't know that and didn't see that until after we got back and looked at the GoPro footage.
The GoPro footage. Yeah. So basically, you put a worm on a hook, and then you put some weights, like a foot, 18 inches off that. You need the weights because you just need the weights. And
worms like to float.
Yeah, worms like to float.
That's why.
And so we just threw them in there, and I'm not joking. 3 minutes into that first time we tried it, I had a brook trout on the rod. Little brook trout, nothing great, but they had this like distinct pink color.
It was gorgeous.
And I guess that's from the temperature of the water.
It makes sense that they would have, honestly, too, thicker skin than a fish that doesn't have to swim in such a cold climate.
Yeah, I think those are wild brookies too. I don't think they've stocked it this year, that lake, because of there's a frog out there, the yellow-legged frog that is endangered, and so they didn't stock a lot of lakes up there this year, and I believe Castle Lake is one of them. But they do put rainbows in there. But I do think those brookies we caught were wild. And what did we end up getting, like 6?
We got 5. We
got 5. We had a bunch of nibbles that they got off. And so you also, if you're going to go do it, get small worms because... Well, we got small worms, but they were not good.
We're foreign to the worm game.
We're foreign to the worm game. We fly fish.
We grew up fly fishermen. Shout out.
So so get small worms because otherwise they just nibble on the longer and you don't catch them. So it was fun. It's actually really something fun that if you have like little kids that you want to get them into fishing, I think that'd be like a cool way to do it. I was telling my buddy. With some young kids to go try it out because you kind of just stand out there and it's really easy. And then once you see the reel moving or the rod moving, then you just go land it.
Right.
It's pretty easy. It was fun at first. Then you sort of sit around a lot.
It was for me. It was kind of cold at first, and then once you kind of got used to that, it was fine. But I mean. You didn't get bored. We stayed longer than we planned on staying because we just kept hooking fish, and catching fish is fun.
We started packing up, and then they started biting hard. Yeah. And I'm like, should we just keep going? You're like, no, we should probably just leave or else we'll stay here all day.